I'm Alan McFarlane. Welcome to the conversation with Alan McFarlane. I'm glad to be here and glad to have you along as well. Thank you for being part of this program. Today is special, always. Fridays, it's the Healing Circle, and I'm pleased to be joined by my colleagues, Dr. BraVada Garrett-Akinsanya and Dr. Oliver Williams. Always a robust conversation, and this one, a magnificent continuation of an excellent series being led by Dr. Barbara Streets. We're getting deep in the question of how we heal in particularly turbulent times. I'm going to turn this over to you, Dr. B, in 1 second. Before I do, I wanted to remind people to let somebody else know that we're live right now. So go to your Facebook or your Twitter or your LinkedIn page and send a link, send a tweet, send a message, let people know that the Healing Circle is going down right now here at this platform. We want you involved. And, and if you want to participate, we welcome your participation. You can do that just by clicking on the chat on any of the platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, and we'll be monitoring that. We'd love to shout you out. Your voice is important. With that, Dr. B, you start us off with a protocol that I love so much. I'm going to pass the talking stick to you. You unmute. There we go.
I said, thanks so much, Baba Al. I'm so grateful to once again be here today to engage in the Healing Circle and the conversations with Al. And I'm so glad that my colleagues, Dr. Barbara Streets and Dr. Oliver Williams, bring their expertise to this table and their spirits. We always start by having a circle. And even though the circle is virtual, we imagine ourselves in it. There's no beginning or end to a circle, no top or bottom. Everyone in the circle has equal access to the center, which is the space of voice and power. I invite the audience now just to inhale very deeply, hold it, and let's exhale. Once again, just inhale deeply, bringing in peace and light, and exhaling stress and busyness. Calm your mind and your spirit just to be present in this moment. You may close your eyes or look to the right to see that you're safe in that space. Turn your head in front of you. Look to your left, noticing you're safe in that space. You may even go behind and look behind yourself to see that you're safe in this space. I want you to notice your feet grounded on the floor and the feel of the chair holding you up. And as you sit there, just think about, at this moment in time, just be patient and be present. Be open to peace and learning and growing and safety. In this circle, we honor our elders, because those are the shoulders we stand on. We sit here, the embodiment of centuries of dreams and hopes. We sit here knowing that someone worked their way, prayed our way, hoped and dreamed our way into existence. And we sit here, the embodiment of those dreams. We also honored our elders, not just because we stand on their shoulders, but because they stand on the shoulders of our ancestors. So in honoring our ancestors, who were the shoulders for our elders, we honor them not just for that, what they have done, for their vision for our future, but we honor them also because they are closest to the Creator. And as we speak today, honoring our elders, our ancestors, our Creator, and ourselves, our future, and our babies, and babies yet to come. Let's acknowledge that we, in this unique divine appointment space, in an orderly African way, will address the things that hold us up and the things that pull us down. And with that, I ask that we use a talking stick and it will be virtual and passed from one group member to the next. And if the Spirit so moves, even those in the audience, please ask to speak, and it will be given to you. So as we engage, I just ask people to come again and thanking our ancestors who say Ashe, Ashe, thank you, Ashe, and we begin the healing circle. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I'd like to begin by introducing each of our speakers and having them to say a little bit about what their intention is for today, and we'll pass the stick. We'll start with Dr. Brother Oliver Williams, who is definitely one of the strongest elders in our community. And I go so far as to say in the world, but at least I can say in my world. So I pass the talking stick to Brother Dr. Oliver Williams to talk about intentions for this day as we talk about advocacy for self and community and healing. Here you go. Here's the talking stick.
I take the talking stick and greetings to you, Dr. BraVada, and I'm glad to be here with you all today. And, for me, the things that I've been reflecting on is our history as a people. And not only, the hopes and dreams of our past, but our accomplishments. We've done so much that has been either hidden or ignored or stolen. And there's something about being aware of the struggle that we've had to go through, as long as we've been here. And going through that process. And I guess among the things that I've been thinking is this issue about trying to erase our history.
Mm-hmm.
And then to re-educate our community to make sure that they know that we exist and we've contributed all this time. And I think that the effort to erase our history may give justification to the people that are trying to do it, to say that we haven't done. The thing that's interesting to me is the fact that sometimes the people that are trying to erase our history, they haven't achieved.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't done things. But then they try to claim as though they have. And that's the devil.
Yeah.
And that's a sin to me. So I guess what I just want us to be reflective of is the fact that we have achieved, we have accomplished, we have contributed, we have done so much. And for us to be aware of that, but to always know that we count and we matter. And for us to just be thoughtful about that. So my intention is for us to be thoughtful about the fact that we have contributed and the fact that we deserve to be acknowledged and to and we should do it for ourselves, but also for our people. So that's what I want to contribute today and to be thoughtful of today.
Thank you. Let's pass the talking stick to Dr. Barbara Streets.
Good afternoon, everyone. My intention for today is to reflect and pause on that beautiful invocation. I love it every time you do that. I looked up, I have a poster. It's not poster frame of several ancestors. And when you talk about the ancestors, I have them up so that I have to look up at them.
Mhm.
And there's several people there, and I just reflect on them when you are doing your invocation. And they're it's in a place where I can see it all the time. So that
Mhm.
that grounds me and assists me.
Mhm.
So I was thinking about, as you were talking there, what they would be saying to me right now. And the thing that came to mind is that I don't set my value on the parameters of individuals that wish to see me annihilated.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's what came to me. So I don't feel a need to prove my existence, or I'm aware of what's going on. I see what's happening. I don't need to react because I feel centered, and I'm aware of the evilness of it, the absolute sinister nature of it, but I don't need to respond in a way that takes away my healing energy, which I need for myself.
Mhm.
So my intention for today is to talk about setting boundaries for myself, advocating for myself, and self-care.
Thank you. That's awesome. I can see that this is going to be a very deep and meaningful conversation. I was recently at a committee where we were talking about why does DEI have to DIE?
Yeah.
And in that conversation, we started realizing that it wasn't people of color actually who started promoting diversity, inclusion, or equity. It was the white folks who started seeing that they were losing power in numbers, and they began to try to strategize how they could sustain their power. And one of the biggest pieces that I have this clip from a woman who talks about it. Her name's Dr. Elliott, and she did the brown-eyed, blue-eyed experiment, and she taught kids, how difference and prejudice can be hurtful. But one of the things she talks about in one of her video clips is that one of the raids on Planned Parenthood was to force white women to have more white babies so that they could have more in numbers. And while simultaneously making that an excellent idea of forcing women to have babies, uh, it worked just the opposite for Black women because we are dying in childbirth. So they get a twofer. They get more white babies and more dead Black mamas and more dead Black babies. And the sad component of that is why so many of us are focusing on birthing in our community, because people of color actually represent the global majority on the earth. And if we decided one day to unite and one day to treat white folks like they've been treating us for centuries, then they definitely have a need to be afraid of us. But what they don't understand is the compassionate African spirit. For we came from the center of the earth. We were born around the equator, which has been known as the Garden of Eden. And in that space, there was always plenty. There was food, there was water, there were animals, there were families, there were drums, there was joy. And colonialism began to break it down, and so did human nature of shame and guilt and anger and all the things that bring us down as sin. But as I think about our work as clinicians and and healers in our community, I really think about the intention of claiming our space and our voice and leading ourselves and our community to a space where we know who we are, where we come from, and where we're going. And that's what I see today as an intention of giving tools to our audience and sharing tools among ourselves, because we've all had to deal with very serious and damaging health challenges. We've all had to deal with racial prejudice and larger institutions that don't represent us. We've even had to deal with Black on Black injury and within group pain. So as we sit here looking at what those gifts we can bring to those who are listening and receive. We want them to bring their gifts too. And that's why, once again, we need to invite our listening audience to comment or bring thoughts in as we go. So, Dr. Streets, I'd like to start out by asking you to share you've been working on a list for quite a while of ways that we can not just survive, but thrive in the face of adversity and have in space of healing in hard times. So I'd like to start by asking you if you could share some of your slides, the things that are on your slides with us as the audience, and Dr. Oliver will share what we've got and respond to it. So please,
Okay.
you've got the talking stick.
Okay. Can you hear me okay, Dr. B?
Yes, we
And
can
Dr.
hear.
Oliver? Okay, super. Let me pull up this slide here. Let's see. How do I go to the next? Oh, there it is. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. So I just wanted to share some notes that I've been making. This is for part 4. Parts 1, 2, and 3 is on another document, or and the first thing I wanted to talk about was just prioritizing your mental health first. Starting the day with a theme song or a hype song. You can I really encourage the listeners, just think about, get a pad and paper. You know, I'm always very oriented toward making these types of presentations work for you. So everyone's going to have their own list. So get a sheet of paper, your iPhone, and take some notes for yourself. You know, so prioritizing your mental health might mean starting the day with a theme song, remembering to put on your own mask before you put on someone else's. And what does that mean for you? Maybe you need to ask a trusted grandparent or a trusted friend to care for your child while you help yourself, until you get on your feet. If you can't get somebody to do that, maybe you can get them for a few hours a day. I'm aware that it can be difficult to ask for help. However, it's an opportunity to practice doing that with someone that you trust. Mm-hmm. If you're fighting a medical illness or have a condition or a season where you're going through a lot of strain, give yourself grace first. You're not always going to feel your best. You're not always going to you may not feel like putting on clothes that day. It's okay. Mm-hmm. Don't wear your robe. I mean, give yourself that grace and just say it's okay and it's going to be okay. Allow yourself to be less than optimal for a season. And that season could be 7 years. It could be 7 days, whatever that is. Watch comedy shows because that's really good. It helps you to release some good, healthy chemicals in your body. If you don't have an infant or a puppy, watch them on Stream them. You can actually watch puppies for hours if that is something that makes you happy. Start a good hobby, a healthy hobby. Pick up knitting, something that allows you to move your fingers. Even, chew gum while you're doing it. Mm-hmm. Listen to music, cry and sing, rest. Allow yourself to take naps, not just one nap, a couple naps during the day. And when you start dreaming again, that's a good sign because you're going into deeper levels of sleep. I know that I've had a season of some real difficulty, and I just couldn't sleep. And recently I've started to dream again. It's wonderful to dream, and it's wonderful to remember your dreams. Keep an app or a journal of your symptoms and your dreams, your pains. Listen to your body. This morning, because I do continue to have issues with sleep, I get up around midnight, and then another time at 3:30, and then another time at 4:30. So I decided, let me work with this, and what is speaking to me? What do I need to listen for? Do you know that there is a tone at about 4:30 in the morning, try it. Challenge. This is a challenge. Do you know that there's like a background tone? Now, I don't have tinnitus. I know folks are always saying you got it ringing in your ear all the time. I do not. There is a hum in a background sound, and sometimes I'll just lie in bed. I got up and opened up my windows just to hear all the different sounds.
Mhm.
You know, the birds come up at a certain time.
Mhm.
And then I got an app to try to figure out what were those birds. But
Mhm.
before the birds come up, there's a tone. And then I heard my stomach growl, and I started listening to making a mental note of all the sounds I heard. It's really interesting. And then the wind was so strong, it sounded like waves. And then there's a tree outside my window. So I tried to connect with the tree, and it was just wonderful. So you're prioritizing your mental health in that way by just connecting to the beautiful earth that's around us, the energies and frequencies that are around us. I think also as you travel, as we mentioned, prioritizing your mental health, another thing to do is to travel safe. I mentioned to you earlier, there's something called the Digital Green Book. Remember, the Green Book was a guidebook for African Americans when they were traveling during the Jim Crow era. And now there's a digital green book. There's a green book that is digital. It's been launched, and it allows users to look at a couple of things that could be useful. And so I'm gonna get to that in a moment. It's on my list there. So, but first, we're still talking about prioritizing your mental health. Number 2, prioritize your physical and emotional safety. What does that mean? I don't keep friends in my inner circle who have substance use issues, because that I have found through experience, through observation, through discernment, that isn't something that makes me feel safe. Many of us have had family members that have been struggling with addictions. I've had the occasional relative that's gone through my purse, trying to get money to support their drug issues. And you don't want to be thinking about who's unsafe in your home or your inner circle.
That's right.
So as painful as it might be, your safety isn't just about having security cameras on your property or your apartment building. If you ever feel like you need to have a camera on somebody that's visiting you, you're not safe with that person. It hurts me to say that, but that's just how it is. So if you ever have that sense that you're with a family member or a friend, and you just, if you can't leave a $20 bill on your table and know it's going to be there when you turn your head, that's not a safe person. So prioritizing your physical, your emotional safety. And what that also means is that whoever you're with, you need to be safe from the parts of them that are not healed. So when I'm with you and you're easily triggered by something, and then you take that out on me, I'm not safe. You've got to have connections, folks in your inner circle that have enough self-awareness, self-reflection, that they're able to identify what they're still working on and when it's coming up for them. So that's a very important piece. Analyze, and that goes to the next thing. Analyze your inner and outer circle. I actually did a chart. I'm going to ask folks to do this. I actually made a chart. I do this every now and then. And I put the list of my friends, close friends, somewhat close friends. And then so that's one column. And then the second column, now don't hate me, don't judge me now. Don't judge me. I want you to judge your choices. I put personality disorder. The next column, I put addiction or substance use. The next column, I put ever been messy. And then the next column, the purpose that this person serves. Why has God put this person in my life? And I found some really interesting trends. It was very eye-opening to do that. I was able to see, for some of my friends, several of them are dealing with some of the same types of issues. And the thing about it is, your friend will never be able to advise you or counsel you to a level that's greater than where their own healing level is.
Mhm.
So I realized, and that turned out to be true. I will, for example, I ask about, so and so, he's fine, blah blah blah. What you think, girl? But I was worrying about this, blah blah blah. And if her advice reflects her emotional health, her advice reflects her level of growth, and if you don't understand that about your friends, you will not have the level of discernment to take the pieces that do make sense and to put aside the rest. So as a homework assignment, analyzing your inner and outer circle. Again, one column is a list of all your friends. I like to put personality disorder. Get yourself a DSM if you're in the mental health world. If you're not, do your best with others. Because we all, at some point over the age of 25, we have seen enough things to know it's something, at least a category called ever been messy.
I hear you. Dr. Streets, can I just borrow the talking stick for a second?
Absolutely.
Because the spirit is moving. We have a sister in our community, Dr. Verna Cornelia Price.
Mm-hmm.
She's wrote this book, The 4 Type of People Who Can Change Your Lives. And she breaks people down into 4 categories. One is a plus. Those are the adders.
Mm-hmm.
Another group are X's. They're called multipliers.
Okay.
One is a minus called subtractors.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is a division called dividers.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do a lot with myself and in my practice, I have people to make a square, 4-square drawing, and they put a plus sign in one, a minus sign in another, dividing sign, and whichever subtracting or whatever. So then I asked them to go to that square and write the people who in their lives represent those elements. So the plus are people who think about you, they're pluses, they're positive, they bring good things to you. The multipliers are like pluses on steroids. You think you got 2 or 3 things going for you because you've been with a plus, but you get with a multiplier, they can help you identify 23 things you've got going for you. Right. And they keep you in their hearts. And then she said there are the subtractors, and the subtractors are the kind of people who they don't ever make emotional deposits. They just make withdrawals. So they'll say, I like your shirt, but that's not your color. So that's the kind of thing that subtractors would do. And then she says, when you run across a divider, you need to just run like hell because their job is to create chaos, division, and mess. So you put those in that category, and your job is to, just like math, if you subtract a negative, that's a positive move. So you subtract the subtractors, you grow your adders, and you grow your multiplier. So that's just very much what you're talking about.
Yes.
Eliminated negative and positive people. You don't have to have a PhD to know somebody is a divider. I mean, I'm telling you, and they messy, and you gonna say, I love you. They get with somebody and say, Dr. B said, I love you. See, that's what a divider is. So you can have to stick back, but I just had to tell it, girl.
No, I like that. I appreciate that, and you took what I'm saying and added another metaphor that folks can use to use those same columns. I appreciate that. I was thinking about, think about your own occupation. If you're a mechanic, now I'm not a mechanic, so I might get some things wrong. But if you're a mechanic, there are things that will make your car run smoothly. Dr. Oliver, help me out here. Things that make your car run smoothly. Having a good oil change, a strong engine, people that help you to go. And so I was thinking, use your field, your own field. What are things that help my engine go, help me feel strong, help me, that energize me, that keep me running smooth. And what are things that are basically like a flat tire? So whatever your occupation is, use the analogy. To make it work for you. But I like that. Thank you. I thank you, Dr. B.
As I was listening to you all, that commercial that they have on Progressive Insurance, and they talk about that it's like being passive aggressive.
Yes.
that one I like a lot, because I think that's a real good example, though, too, to try to find out who's negative and trying to be slick and being negative in your life.
That's
Right.
Figure that
Right.
out. Yeah. It's
Right.
been interesting to me too to see people who are triggers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what happens is that they, that there's something going on for them, that they have conversations and they try to trigger the persons that are in their lives. And
Mm-hmm.
you see that, you hear people talk about it on a regular basis. And what's interesting is that it's like they're throwing out a fishing analogy, throwing
Mm-hmm.
out the lure to see whether you're going to bite.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And if you bite, then they got you.
Right.
So what you can do is see that they're throwing the line out and they're trying to get you to bite, but you avoid it.
There you
Right.
And that sometimes means that you, instead of being on the phone call for a half hour or an hour, you're on for 5 minutes before
There you
you
go.
have to leave.
There you
Right.
go.
But you don't get engrossed or involved in the trap that they're trying to set for you, because they're negative.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can stay peaceful. And what you were saying, Dr. Street, earlier on, you don't have to react. You can just be peaceful. I've been reading Bible verses, and it talks about that, God sometimes wants you just to be still.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can be still, that he'll work it out.
That's right.
Right.
And so what we need to do is, sometimes we need to be peaceful,
All right.
not to go for the bait.
Right.
So
Thank you, Dr. Williams.
mhm.
I think too, outside of our inner circles, sometimes these practicing self-care occurs, or opportunities occurs, when we're not expecting it.
Mm-hmm.
A new introduction. We get on the bus, we take a Uber, we're walking down the street, or we're at a party or an event. And sometimes folks might be fishing for information, not from a place of care, love, concern, and consideration, but more of, let me compare myself to you. Let me figure who you out. Let me put you in a box. I think it's important to practice self-care in those situations too. This is an area that I still have to practice in. When folks say, so what do you do? Folks are trying to figure out, where do you live? And these are often socially acceptable questions to ask, but you don't have to answer them. You can say, and practice it. That's an interesting question. What makes you ask?
Mm-hmm.
Dr. B, help me out.
No, that's it.
What do you do for a living?
That's right.
What would you say? Let's practice. What do you do for a living?
I would say I enjoy my job. What do you do?
I might say I'm an educator. I don't think we need to. There's a difference between privacy and secrecy.
Exactly.
And you have a right to your privacy.
That's right.
And to discern what it is that folks are wanting or needing from you, or trying to fish for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the ways, sometimes when I hear folks talk about in situations, oh, I wish I had said so and this, or I wish I had said that, after the fact, and intuitively you knew that they were fishing for something about you, but not really from a place of care and concern. Those are the times, I think, where people feel the most unsafe, because you feel like, even though you answered in a socially acceptable way, you gave away something, and it was subtractive to your sense of integrity, privacy, safety.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to make mistakes, if you to trip as you're practicing this new skill, because many of us are hardwired to be polite, to be socially acceptable, to be pro-social. But I think in this climate, there's a lot of predatory a lot of predatory noise thrown at us. And I think it's important to think about ways you can be safe, even in novel situations.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on. So the next, back to the slide. Let's see, analyzing inner and outer circle. Can you go back to this slide, the outline? Or should I? Present. Share screen. Oops. I'm just going to go ahead. Maybe we'll find it in a moment. Analyzing your go-to positive coping strategies or negative coping strategies was the next item. One of the things that sometimes when we're stressed out, I used to go for a run all the time when I was in grad school. There's these stairs. I would just go and I would put on too legit to quit MC Hammer. So, and I would go up these stairs, and it really helped me with my stress. I would choose a hill, and I would just use, and that's a positive coping strategy, channeling negative energy into socially acceptable activities. That's sublimation.
Mm-hmm.
I have also been in a season of denial. I mean,
Yep.
so it hasn't always been the more positive coping strategies where acknowledging something painful was I just wasn't able to do it that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important to examine your go-to positive coping strategies, your negative coping strategies. And I think something to keep in mind is particularly regression. When you go to an earlier stage of development, when you're stressed out, I took a look at myself on this one, and I realized I identified what my regressive coping strategy was, and it was just very eye-opening. So I'm not saying that nobody is perfect. What I'm asking folks to do is just have more introspection and try to get assistance from your additive and multiplier friends and family members to help you when you find yourself going into these places that are abysses or shadow or shallow places.
Mm-hmm.
The next item on the list was eliminate emotional debt. We talk about eliminating financial debt, which I think is a good way to stay safe, but eliminating emotional debt. Who is it do you think you owe?
Wow.
No, you don't. You don't owe anyone anything. Now, I know that this might go against 12-step frames, so let me explain a little bit more about what I mean. If you're being abused, you don't need to defend why you are no longer in contact with that person. If you're in a toxic relationship, you have the right to have no contact. You have a right to prioritize your mental health, and you don't owe anyone an explanation. So I think it's important to think about, do you carry emotional debt? People you think you owe, you feel indebted to, that you have to take care of. Why do you, just ask her, why do you think that's so?
Mm-hmm.
You know what was really interesting? I have mixed friends, and what I mean, some friends who are married and then friends who are single. And some of my friends who are married, they have this belief that their children will take care of them when they're older.
Mm.
I happen to have an opportunity to go to a place where there are lots of senior citizens. And what I observed was their children, a lot of them weren't getting any visits from anyone, and almost all of them had children. And that was very eye-opening for me. Just go to a place where there are lots of senior citizens at residential living spaces. Many of them, if not most of them, will have children. And you'll hear some of them say that they never got a visit. So I think that that really knocked out a belief I had about children and relationships with parents in old age. And how does that relate to emotional debt? Nobody owes you anything. And if you do believe people owe you something, maybe that might be something to look at. And you don't owe other folks things. Dr. B, what do you think about that? Is that too harsh?
No, it's not too harsh at all. And I think after I say this, I'm going to pass the talking stick to Brother Oliver, because when you're talking about you don't have to get permission to eliminate people who are harmful.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him closely escort a whole community of people who had those beliefs to another space of liberation, so that they can realize that their work is to do and be the best person they can be, and that they don't have to have old people who were kind but also hurtful. They don't have to stay with that. So, but I grew up with 7 brothers and one sister, and in my family, my mom and dad, they both taught us that nobody owes you anything.
Okay.
If people do nice things for you, be grateful. If people give you gifts, no matter if it's an encouraging word or a hug or money or whatever, you be grateful.
Okay.
Because when you were brought here, the only promise that you could get is that me and your dad, that's what my mom would say, we would love you, we would care for you. But anything outside of this house, you can't expect that anybody owes you anything. And if that's the case, then you're going to be really disappointed, because a lot of people who you think owe you will not pay you. And so I don't believe people owe me anything. When people do good things for me, I'm immensely grateful. And it encourages me to do the same for others, because I want people to know I appreciate them. That's all I want them to know from me. They don't have to pay me for anything. They don't. They don't owe me anything. And I don't owe them anything either. So I'm going to pass the talk to Dr. Oliver.
Okay.
Yeah, as I'm thinking about some of these issues, Elizabeth Horn Peterson, my friend from South Africa, is I spent some time with her dad when I was visiting her in South Africa, and he had 9 children. And his 18th birthday, on their 18th birthday, he blessed them, but they had the responsibility of moving forward themselves. Of course, he gave them support and all that and love, and that didn't stop. And he was sort of a spiritual guide and leader, and an example for his daughters and sons, but for his daughters, in terms of what they should look for in a man. But the thing that was interesting to me was the fact that he had to let them go when they turned 18. It made me very thoughtful about that, and I guess the thing I think about too, in terms of dealing with issues of what holds people, men who are abusive, and what they try to do is to turn it on to their partner and to get them to feel as though they owe him, for his abusive behavior. He holds that link to them, and a lot of people hold on to that.
Yes.
And a lot of victims of abuse feel as though they have a responsibility to listen to what he has to say, and that holds them hostage. What they've got to do is learn to let go, and that they're not responsible for believing that bull that he puts on them. But I've seen it happen over and over again. I did a long time ago when I was in grad school. I went to this training shelter that I was working with did this training for these groups of ministers. So there was a video that came out. There's a guy that ran one of the first Batters programs in the United States, a guy named David Adams. And so David put together this video, and my friend David Russell was showing it to these groups of ministers. And what was so interesting was the fact that the ministers started being angry at the advocates because that was showing the video of men who batter that took responsibility for their behavior and called out other men who battered. So these groups of ministers were so upset because they were hearing things that clashed with their belief system. And the thing that was so interesting to me was that the advocates felt like they needed to take care of the ministers.
Mm.
Mm.
You know, that's the conundrum that one sees themselves in often, or that you see, you know, battered women or and advocates or people that feel as that they're trying to help to be supportive of something. When the reality is the fact that these men needed to figure out how to take care of themselves.
That's right.
They weren't saying anything that was wrong. That there were other men who were taking responsibility for what they were doing, and that there were advocates who see women who were beaten on a regular basis, but yet they felt like they needed to take care of these men who were supposedly people that should hear when a woman is in distress,
Mm-hmm.
should be able to confront men who do harmful things to women.
Mm-hmm.
But yet they're caught in the same conundrum that many victims are, where they feel as though they have to take care of the people who may do the harm. And that made me think, you know, what work do the ministers have to do to be able to see what abusive men do?
Yes.
And see the circumstances that women find themselves in, and then to feel as though they need to be taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the exact opposite. You know,
Sure is.
so I don't know, as you all were speaking, those are the things that came into my mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Barbara,
Yes, ma'am.
it seems the stick has floated back to you.
Okay. I will take this stick and I will share my screen. I want folks to see this thing called the next item on the list after eliminating emotional depth is called Go Green.
Oh,
Share
Go
screen.
I went to Michigan State.
He's not talking about that green.
That's right. Oh, okay.
Is it something we can put in the chat? Because I don't see the video being shown.
I am sharing my screen now. Do you see my screen?
No. Yep, now we do. Yep.
Share.
We see it now.
Okay. Do you see the full screen? All we got?
Yeah, we all go green now. There it is, a digital green book.
Right. So as I was mentioning a little bit earlier about this, we all know that there are periods of time in American history where we've needed to rely on each other to be safe. Because traveling across the country, we sometimes didn't know what communities were safe for us and which were not, particularly traveling during the Jim Crow era. So I wanted to share this. This is a digital green book, and I'm just going to go through it. The purpose, we got. A digital green book for the culture is more than just a resource. It's a roadmap for navigating the digital world with purpose, clarity, and confidence. And I felt like it's very much in line with self-advocacy, self-care, and setting boundaries. So it equips the Black community with knowledge and tools to identify misinformation, keeping our mind boundaried by having good, clear information, protecting our families, and making informed decisions in increasingly deceptive online spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So good habits for bad news cycles. They've got 3 areas: road to safety, protect our truth, similar to what Dr. Williams was saying earlier, protecting our kids and protecting our culture. Good habits for bad news cycles, recognizing platform manipulation. I mentioned this to you a few weeks ago, Dr. B, that 40, I thought it was 40, but it's 42% of online social traffic is bad bots, people just messing with you, putting nasty things in your in the comment spaces. Isn't that interesting?
It's ridiculous. Yep.
But I think it helps folks to understand, because so many of our young people really internalize the negative information and negative feedback, and it can be devastating when you put yourself out there. But I think it's important to know that these algorithms are manipulative, and you could be wanting to hurt yourself, cut yourself over something that a set of bots have said. Isn't that, I mean, I just think that's an important component to keep in mind. Read through the day's headlines on trusted news sites. I have my own list of trusted news sites. Some of those include the Midas Touch. I've been listening to Robert Reich, Dr. Romney, who's not necessarily a news person, but she talks a lot about narcissism. I think she's fantastic. I've been listening recently to Heather Cox Richardson. I'm going to say her name again, Heather Cox Richardson. She's got a YouTube channel. She recently did their two YouTube links, or that she did, that I thought were absolutely fantastic. One was on March 18th and another was on March the 11th of 2025. She's a historian. The analysis she gave on the current political system was absolutely fantastic. And there are several places where she and I converged on. Just check her out. Just check it out. But I think that was a way, just figuring out which news platforms, whether they're on Instagram or YouTube or some other platforms, that are clear-headed, allows to decrease the anxiety and the overwhelm, and allow diverse perspectives that allow critical analysis. So 3, follow Black news and journalists directly. 4, don't contribute to uncertainty. Sometimes when I think I want to send a link to someone, I'll stop, because sometimes I don't want to continue with misinformation. I want to check my sources first, and sometimes just waiting a few hours has been really helpful. And then protect your peace. Limit your time on social media platforms. So I thought that was fantastic. They've got some other information about exposing social media manipulation and taking back control, reminding yourselves about these algorithms, recognizing emotional manipulation, being wary of image and video manipulation. Have you noticed sometimes that you'll see someone speaking and it's AI that created that image?
Yep.
I mean, it's more and more prevalent. So I just go through this, but the link is there. How they trick us, tips to reset. Extreme governments with the backing of tech companies use online and offline tricks to deceive, divide, and deplete our community. But we can refuse to fall for these tricks. Stay informed, build solidarity, reject manipulation, and look at the ways in which things are rebranded. Rebranding hate as free speech, overwhelming us with lies, convincing us that no one or nothing, especially Black institutions, can be trusted. Using culture wars as a Trojan horse to roll back civil rights, using chaos and confusion to keep us on defense, and to keep us dysregulated. And then pitting us marginalized communities against each other.
That's right.
Protecting our kids. They have this connection here. We've got to protect our kids. Look at what they're looking at. But there's racism, algorithmic bias, cyberbullying, a lot of anti-Blackness. What's not on here, there's a lot of porn too. Young children, I believe at age 11, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. B, can sometimes get a pop-up as early as age 11 that exposes them to pornographic material. So, guiding your children through social media use, having discussion about digital literacy, talking about online safety and privacy, there's some Netflix documentaries about young people who have been stalked by, they're a 13, 14-year-old girl or boy, and they're being stalked by 40, 50, 60-year-old men. and they don't know it. Men are pretending to be children. There's no reason why a grown man needs to be on Snapchat.
That's right.
Protecting their mental health and their esteem, addressing racial stereotypes, online hate. So I think this is a fantastic digital resource, talking about using social media. Feeling overwhelmed, parents can download these apps to help put in place important guardrails. I'm not familiar with these. Dr. B, Dr. Williams, Bark, Net Nanny, Custodio, Google Family Link. I'm not familiar with any of those. And if you are, please share what you know about it. And then uplifting Black community and culture. Some really good notes here. They've got, again, trusting, being aware of where you're getting your resources from, your news from, considering following these Black writers, journalists. And again, they're not saying this is it's not an extensive list. It's not an exhaustive list. It's a few recommendations for consideration. You can check out the ones that you would like to, follow. Keith Boykin, I am following and really like. I'm following AOC. I'm following Stacey Abrams. And then Black-owned social media apps and networks. And Black-owned businesses. Again, not exhaustive, but these are some really good resources to take a look at. So I'm going to see if I can
Thank you for sharing that.
This.
Yeah.
Self-care. Stop screen. Okay.
Thank you.
Then just to wrap up, I don't know how we're doing on time, Dr. B.
We got a couple of more minutes. Need to take it on home.
Okay. So let me just wrap up by talking about a few other things on this list. I have on here, don't let people casually touch you. And don't judge me when I say these things. Don't be judgmental. I don't see that necessarily just in touching, but also in monitoring. I'm really protective of my mental health. I'm really protective of my emotional space. And sometimes monitoring spirits. Have you ever heard of that term? Monitoring spirits, folks that just want to check on you to see how you're doing so they can compare themselves and their lives to you, but they're not really offering any assistance. I just think it's important to not to be really careful about who and what's in your space. Having regular cleansing rituals, not just for your body, but for your spiritual space. That's right. Your spiritual frame. I was in a group the other day, and I was aware that I can feel when people are sick. Yeah. I can be about 6 feet away, and I can feel the energy when someone is very, very ill. And I'm so sensitive. It actually weakens me because I feel a little off for a period. Does anybody relate to that when you're around folks? You can pick up on who's ill and who's not.
I think I can do it. And I think I can tell, especially when it's not just biological, when it's spiritual. When I can tell, I can have that discernment in being with people. And I'm a big empath, so I can often feel what I know people are feeling.
Yeah, I think empaths, we're both we're in the mental health field. We're healers. We work with people a lot. I think there's what I didn't get in grad school. There are 2 courses I wish I had before I graduated. I love my internship. I love my grad school education, but there are 2 courses I wish I had. Number 1, Racism 101, how to manage the world of work dealing with racism, sexism, and bias after you've gotten your degree and you're so aspirational and you want to aspire to all these goals and aspirations. That would have been a good class. Long title, but a good class. And then the second thing I wish I had gotten in grad school would have been about spiritual cleansing prior to and after working with clients and groups.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not something we ever talked about, but I think that's something that's really, especially for empathic people, I think that's something we really need.
Mm-hmm.
Cleaning up your social media image or fasting from social media can be a healthy thing to do. Going for a weekend in silence. And this is my latest thing. I did go and check out one of the most elite healing centers around the world. I'm not going to say their name because they're not paying me for endorsing them, but it's about $300,000. Now, was that euros? It was 300,000. It was.
I wish it was Naira, but I don't think it would be.
It was incredibly expensive per month, and it's a bespoke concierge type of healing facility for celebrities, diplomats, high profile people who value their privacy but need to be in rehabilitation. It's in Europe. And I went online and looked at, so what do they do? Like it's several $1,000s per day. And they don't accept insurance. The people are paying out of pocket. I think it was very interesting. Just check out what are some of the most elite healing centers around the world doing, and on a budget, recreated at home on a budget. I think that could be a really nice self-care, self-advocacy frame. And there were some things that you can do at home, so.
Thank you so much. I'm seeing that our time is up, and I would like to just give each of us 1 minute just to close it down. And Dr. Oliver, I'd like to start with you with the 1 minute, and then give it to Dr. Barbara, and I'll shut it down after that. 1 minute.
No, just one thought is that maybe there's something that we can create with regard to healing and cleansing, and that we can talk about what the elements are, but something that we could create ourselves to, or within your organization, because I think that's important as we talk about not only being empaths, but also dealing with the issues of spirituality.
That's right.
What that means, and that we deal with, spiritual challenges on a regular basis.
That's right.
So for our protection as well as for our support, to do that. So that's a thought that I got from our conversation here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Oliver. Dr. Barbara.
Don't be afraid to put yourself first.
Don't
be afraid to prioritize yourself. That's the biggest thing I think that we need to do as healers, as people who are often called on to give and give. And because we are, even when we're not doing well, we're still high functioning. So people don't often see when we need something, when we need help, because even our bad days still look like great days to folks who are really just barely making it. We've got to prioritize ourselves and just saying, I'm not available. Practice no. I know that Shondaland had a year of yes. I think you can have a season of no too.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. So with that said, I want to appreciate both of you so much for bringing your spirit, your wisdom, your humor, your hopes, and your dreams to our healing circle today. And I think that's said it all. We're looking for hope, healing, and we're going to be that. And with that, drop the mic, and thanks for coming to Healing Circle. See you next week. Same time, same bat channel.
Thank you.
Thank you.